Awesome, awesome. Looks like we are live on here. I'm just going to quickly share this to a couple of my pages. And while we do that, why don't you go ahead and say hello. Let me know where you're logging in from. And what's the temperature where you are right now? This is the time of year I always get interested in the temperature for everyone else because, well, actually, it's been a little chilly for Southern California. But say hello where you're logging in from. And I have a quick message I want to share with you all, but I'm just going to post this on a couple of my pages. So bear with me just 1 minute and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Say hello where you're logging in from and what the temperature is at where you are. Hey, Linda, how are you? Lisa, good to see you on here. Group, share the page. One more share. And that is it. All right, cool. All shared up here. Thank you for your patience. Hot Springs, Arkansas, 43. Oh, that's not too bad. Hey, Carrie, how are you? 43 in Utah. Melissa, hey, Melissa, how are you? Surprise, Arizona. I was just in Arizona the other day. 3 degrees freezing for Jackie. That sounds really cold. 65 in San Jose. That sounds like a nice day, Dina. Jeff, 39 in Kansas City. That sounds a little chillier for me. Well, I appreciate all of you being in. Hey, Donna, New Jersey, low 40s. It's getting a little too cold for me. I appreciate you all being here. So I wanted to share with you a quick story and a message to go along with it that I think could be, well, I think is a really important message that we should all hear. Let me stop that. The story is one I think we should all hear. And the message is one that I think that we can all ascertain something from it. I know I certainly have. I don't know if those of you who are following my personal Facebook page, and it's separate from my main page that some of you are logged in on here from. But on my personal page, I posted a story the other day that quickly took off and has now been shared something like 60,000 plus times around the world. And it's amazing to see because it's such a beautiful story. So if you haven't seen that post yet, let me fill you in on the story really quick. In California right now, which I'm a California native, there's numerous fires going on. 2 of the bigger ones are in Northern California and one in Southern California, just south of me. Now, being in Santa Barbara, I am not unfamiliar at all with the fires. I live where the major Thomas fire was late last year. And I also live just pretty much down the street from where some of the mudslides were earlier this year that took the lives of over 20 people here locally. So us Californians know all too well how susceptible we are to fire and how tragically it can hit and the destruction that it can wreak when it does. And in Northern California, in the town of Paradise, it's been hit especially hard. And I don't want to misquote what the data is right now, but the last I saw, there's over 70 people who are confirmed dead. There is, I think, over 1,000 who are still missing. Now that's subject to, some duplicates on the list, updated. It's hard to get information, so that could definitely change. And thousands and thousands of structures destroyed, most of them homes. But out of the ashes of tragedy, as there often is, and I know this was definitely our case locally when we had ours earlier this year and late last year, there were some really extraordinary stories, and there's one that came to my attention that I literally wept uncontrollably when I read it, and then I instantly wanted to share it with others, and it was so beautiful to see that so many other people resonated. And the story, the abbreviated version, is that the Paradise volleyball team, girls volleyball team, was supposed to play in a championship match. Now, being in the town, their town had just been destroyed by fire. They had lost pretty much all their equipment, uniforms, everything else. And the team they were supposed to play, Auburn, a town which is a little further away from Paradise, heard of this and decided they wanted to do something to help out, do something to support these girls in the midst of their tragedy. So they got together and they collected some equipment, uniforms, knee pads, all the essential things that the team would need to compete, and they presented it with them. But it didn't stop there. They went above and beyond and gathered some clothing, some bags of supplies, and they gave this to the team. But it didn't stop there. Then they went and made sure that each of the girls on the team had a $300 gift card. And then it didn't stop there. They also went above and beyond, and on their own, as I understand, they raised something like $16,000, which they then presented to the team as a kind act of gesture. And I've heard some other stories too that they asked for some of the tournament fees to be deferred to go towards that, and all sorts of other wonderful things. I can't imagine what that must have been like for the team from Paradise to receive that gift. I can only imagine how I would have felt during that, which I think some of you who saw that post, you shared my sentiments and the tears and just how what an amazing gesture was. And as I read that, I thought, God, this is the example that all of us could live by if we conducted our lives by leading with kindness each and every day, not just in tragedy, but just in everyday life. And I think that there's an opportunity for all of us. See, here's the thing with kindness. It doesn't have to cost anything. I don't know about all of you who saw that post, but the thing that especially got me more than anything wasn't the financial part of it. While that was emotional and inspiring, it was the fact that they got the equipment for them, the equipment so they could compete, the equipment so they could play the game. And I can only imagine being a teenage girl or being anyone after some sort of tragedy. And I know for the tragedies I've gone through, how vital it has been for me to be able to find those things I could do to find some sort of sense of normalcy in the midst of all the chaos and devastation. And to gift those girls, to gift that team with normalcy, to gift them with something like that to help them compete, to help them play. And a time when there's so much chaos, to give them the gift to play. That was what really touched me. And I thought, gosh, there's such an opportunity for all of us. We could all learn so much from these extraordinary young women about what it means to be kind, about what it means to lead from your heart, about what it means to look at other people first and to choose kindness in the face of anything else, and to always lead with kindness, because we absolutely can. It's in our DNA. It's our capability. So now here's my stretch on this. I've been trying to go through all the comments and acknowledge them or like them, because there's so many beautiful comments, people talking about on there too. And if you read through any of them, gosh, there's so many now, but people talking about how this has restored their faith in humanity, how inspired they are about these girls, about how we can all do better, and I echo some of the sentiments, how we need more stories like this in circulation. And then there are the few people who like to take those kind of opportunities to espouse their political views or to just say really rude and nasty things. Rude and nasty things from my perspective and perhaps your perspective. And then sometimes our tendency in those moments is to forget about the whole kindness thing and react, right? React with anger, react with frustration, because we often will react to what we don't understand. Now, here's the big stretch for all of us, because there's a few of them out there, and I've been trying to moderate the comments and get rid of the ones that are really inappropriate. Is oftentimes those are the people who need the kindness the most. And kindness, in my opinion, isn't about who deserves it and who doesn't. While we can definitely say that these girls certainly deserve something kind happening to them, I'm talking about for each and every one of us beyond the face of tragedy when we're living our normal day-to-day lives. Because oftentimes we're going to encounter more people like that who might say rude and nasty things, or who might espouse some belief that we don't agree with, who might go about sharing it in a way that we definitely don't agree with. And we'll often encounter those types of things much more often than we will a devastating fire or a heartbreaking natural disaster, hopefully, if we're lucky enough. But it's those people I think we really have the opportunity to strengthen our kindness muscles. Because if we react to them from a place of anger, upset, hatred, frustration, or any of those types of things, we're really no different than they are in the moment, because they're often acting from the same place. Perhaps they're fearful. Perhaps they're scared. Who knows what it is? Maybe they've never been around kindness before. Maybe they've lived such a dark and scared life that for them, the idea of being a part of anything, it may seem scary, or the only thing they've ever been able to find that they can connect with other people about is from a place of anger, from a place of hatred. Any of you who have ever studied gang cultures before know that this isn't too far off from why people go into gangs. They usually don't go into gangs to be angry and hurt other people. They go into gangs because they want to feel like they belong. And then a byproduct of being in the gang is the hurting and the crime and whatnot. And so perhaps these people who react in the way they do, who use these kinds of forms to espouse their political beliefs or lash out at another human being, it's not because they're mean. It's not because they're cruel. It's not because they're vindictive. We might make it easy on ourselves to try to label them that because it helps us make sense. Perhaps they just have never been hugged. Perhaps they just were never hugged enough. Perhaps they don't have people in your life like you do who can love them, who can look them in the eye, who can understand them. This doesn't excuse their behavior at all, and that's not what this is about. What this is really about is empowering your behavior and how you conduct yourself in the face of that. Because I, for one, believe and choose to believe that that's where the real change can exist and real change can occur. What someone does is what someone does. How you respond is how you respond. And it's often in your response that's going to either make the greatest difference or not do anything at all. 2 big lessons from this video today. Number one is, if you haven't seen that post, read it and really ask yourself as you read it, how can you be more kind? How can you be more like those extraordinary young ladies from Auburn? And not just in the face of tragedy, but each and every day. And number two, I would challenge each and every one of you on here to stretch your kindness muscles today, to make it your mission in life, to make it your personal mission each and every day to lead from a place of kindness, especially to those who may not seem like they deserve it. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to like them. Quite frankly, there's quite a few people I'm not huge fans of. But I do my damnness to try to be kind, because I also recognize that they and we live 2 completely different lives. And what's led me to where I am right now, it might be a much different path than what they did. And I, for one, believe that kindness is often going to be a much better trail of breadcrumbs to follow than anger, resentment, frustration. I think if Hansel and Gretel would have had a trail of kindness to follow them out of the woods, they might have never met with the fate they did. And perhaps with all of us, what we can all do, and maybe the ultimate act of kindness we can, is to look at the people in our lives who we might normally react from or kind of push away because of that, and realize that kindness doesn't mean we have to hang out with them. Kindness doesn't mean we have to understand them. Kindness doesn't mean we have to accept them or any of those types of things. It just means that we choose to be kind, because being kind is a much better way to live life. So I hope this has resonated with all of you. I hope this is connected with you. For each and every one of you who have had an opportunity to look at that post, I hope that the actions of those girls have inspired you as they have me. And really think about that today as you go forward, is how can you be more kind? What kind of acts can you do for others, not just those in need, but those in your day-to-day life? What kind of acts can you show those who may not believe what you believe, or who may not talk how you talk, who may not look how you look, who may not think how you think? Perhaps next time someone says something that you don't agree with, rather than react and point the finger and call them a name, which is pretty easy to do, and label them as being whatever we label them as, perhaps we can just choose kindness and send them love. And that's it, period. Love without expectation. That's really crucial with this. If we're giving them love just because we want something back, that's not quite the same. But I think one of the ultimate acts of kindness is just to love without expectation. Love just for the sheer joy of love. Love because we have the choice to love, and that we have the choice to love another human being. All right, everyone. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I'm just going to scan through the comments real quick and see if there's any questions at all. I hope this was helpful. Hey, Maria, I'm doing well. How's the UK? Costs nothing to be nice. Yes. I helped a high school grad fill gas today. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Donated toys. Thank you for sharing that. Donated toys to a Christmas toy appeal for less fortunate. Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. I love hearing stories of kindness. Unconditional love is the best goatee. Goatee. Oh, best. I see. Yeah, this is especially with the fading light now in California, it gets a little more enhanced. The takers don't have any limits. This isn't about the takers, Darlene. It's about the choices you make. So I would encourage you, one of the acts of kindness, right, I would really encourage you to look at kindness not as something to give with the expectation of getting anything back, but just to give, to love, to love. And to not label people as takers, but rather be kind enough to try to see life from their perspective, Imagine what it might be like to walk a day in their shoes and where they've come from and what they've gone through and what all they've encountered to be that way. Because I'm willing to bet that each and every these, even one of these people who we may not agree with or we may not get along with, they likely weren't born how they are. But what happened was life, the challenges, the tribulations, the triumphs, the ups and downs, and maybe they had a few more downs than you had ups. Maybe they didn't have someone to pick them up and give them a hug when life kicked their ass, and perhaps you did. See, the things that separate us, I really don't think there's that big a thing on the emotional scope. I often tell people that, well, actually, I don't have time for that story, so I'll save that for another time. But, really take that into consideration. And it's not for us to decide how someone's living their life, nor is it up to us to decide what's right or wrong. What it's up for us to decide is just who we want to be as human beings. And what it's up for us to decide is just how we want to live our own lives. What kind of energy we want to put out, what kind of emotion we want to put out, who do we want to be? And I encourage you all to be the kinder and just the kinder person. Lead with love. All right, everyone, I got to jump off. I have an appointment right now with a client, so I'm sending lots of love to you all. I hope this is helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on here. We'll be back on here tomorrow, right around the same time, maybe a little bit earlier. I got to double check the schedule. And then it'll be a little different Facebook Live schedule this week with Thanksgiving here in the U.S., but I will definitely make a point to hop on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It just may be earlier in the day or later in the day. We'll figure it out. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. And be kind.